are you doing, Deborah? You got Sir Rick and Drive Safe Dave. And how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
All right, so let's do this, Deborah. First of all, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you work for?
Well, thank you. I'm Deborah Quackenbush, and I've been in the industry, the simulation training industry, and for longer than I want to reveal right now. And I'm a consultant. My own business is Virtual Excellence, but more importantly, I work with a company out of Montreal, Canada called Virage Simulation. And Virage provides training systems, ground vehicle training simulation systems for all types of drivers that share the highway with us, from trucking to automobiles, police vehicles, fire, waste management. And I'm pleased to be here and explain a little bit how simulation training has impacted the industry in a positive way to bring safety to the highways.
Oh, and
hey, I want to jump in real quick, David.
Go ahead, sir.
Let me ask first. So here we go. Hey, so Deborah, when drivers come in for the first time, how do they take it? I mean, are they anxious? Are they excited about this simulator? I'm talking about the drivers that are coming in for retraining or to be trained again. Maybe a driver that's been driving for, say, 10, 15 years. How do they take it when they look at that simulator?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because I think at first there may be some trepidation. This may be a technology that they have not experienced before. If they're a younger driver, very possibly they're familiar with the gaming side of simulation, but not the training side of simulation. Two totally different technologies. So it really depends on that. What we have found, and what companies that have implemented a safety program that integrates simulation into it, is that the drivers begin to see the relevance of it, and they see the investment that the company is making in their safety, and there is an overwhelming acceptance of it. They also recognize that well, just like many of us out there that share the highway, when was the last time you took a defensive driving course? When was the last time that you looked at your skills behind the wheel? And so they recognize that the company is doing this for the benefit of everybody and are creating a safety culture that they can feel good about and feel good about working for that company.
You know, as we continue to talk about that, and we continue to talk about the safety aspect of that, and which is what we do here and what we'd like to talk about here, how important was that a driving factor, more important with Virage and this simulator?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of that question.
I said so we're talking about safety, and we're discussing safety, and just how important was that in a driving factor of building this simulator right here, this Virage simulation, is safety?
Well, I think that safety is the overarching theme, okay? I think best practices are implemented within the simulation training, and with best practices comes safer performance, meaning that when you drive a simulator, it's not just driving around in a database, in an area that doesn't have any purpose. There is training that is implemented. There is a curriculum that is attached to the simulation. For instance, if you're an entry-level driver, you want to be sure that they have those entry-level skills like shifting, all their backing skills, all the CDL skills that are necessary. You have to measure that performance in order to be sure that this individual is going to be successful in, one, passing the commercial vehicle test, and two, be successful as a driver out there sharing the highway with everyone else. With regard to a company, you want to be able to provide that additional ongoing training, the advanced training, the training on new technologies. And only simulation can provide that kind of broad exposure to events that sometimes you don't really want to do them live on the road.
I get that. I think that's fascinating when you're talking about that. So in a simulator, you can call up immediately a snowstorm and deal with that scenario, or you can go directly to a blowout situation, right? I mean, you're talking about on the fly problems to deal with immediately.
Well, that is true. And what we can do is, once the individual has the basic skills, you can now put in faults. We have built in faults so that the instructor can put in a tire blowout, can put in low oil pressure, can put in those faults, because there is so much going on in the driving task that you want the drivers to be alert to, what is going on the roadway, but also be familiar with their equipment and themselves. We try to develop good vision habits, space management, hazard perception. Are they always scanning and looking? The fatigue. Those are the kinds of things that you can do in the simulator. In addition, obviously, the truck drivers are very mobile. They're all over the country. The winds in Montana and the sandstorms in, Arizona or New Mexico. So they're around a lot of different environments. But it's not just about training to those exceptional events, I'll call them. It has to do more with providing a way in which we can embed a safety process within their driving, so that they can feel that they have repetitively begun the proficiency training that they need, and that they take that onto the highway. It's not just one and done. It gives you the opportunity to continue to improve your skills, and then apply it to your position as a professional driver or as an entry-level driver.
So let's talk about a couple of little things particular to this VS600 series. Let's ask you a couple of here. What are some of its features and components that differentiate it from others much like it?
Well, I keep talking about curriculum, and my theory is, there's a tagline that we use. It's called "Where Science and Simulation Merge." Okay. And what that means is we take an evidence-based approach to developing the curriculum. We have studied it. We validated the curriculum. It's the curriculum that is the fuel to the vehicle. Just like you were just talking about the fuel on air, you cannot have a simulator unless you have a good program and good measurements. And a couple of the components that we marry together is not only the simulation system hardware itself, but there's the driver tracker, which, as an individual that has the system, a trainer, they know that individual in that seat, we're watching all of their performance factors that are being measured on the simulator. In addition, there's a debrief station which films everything. We record the driver's actions, the facial movements, all of that. Then that is put in a driver record, which provides the instructor and the driver the ability to analyze, okay, what did this driver do great, and what did this driver need some improvement in? Um, and not only that, it helps to back up the company to show that they are developing a safety culture. And you kind of alluded to it earlier, where you have these nuclear awards from juries and the billboards and all of that. Well, if a company has a solid program and valid data that shows they took the necessary steps to make sure that their drivers were properly trained in the proper procedures and safety aspects, they have at least the ability to defend themselves a little bit more than perhaps in the past.
And I know we're talking, I know this is a big deal, and we've been talking, nuclear verdicts is like this cutting word that's in the trucking industry. And besides these insurance deals, what are some of the different reasons you've seen companies come to use simulators, come to you, right? Not just, actually step out and come to you for them.
Well, I think it's because the competition for drivers is so significant. And what they are looking for is what are the tools that are out there that provide the best practice. We've seen some of our clients who've been able to reduce their incidents by over 20% simply by integrating the simulation program and providing a safety culture for their drivers that recognize this is serious business. And the company is going to help. The company is going to give them this experience. The company is investing in them. And this gives them an edge in recruiting, which is another tool that can be used with the simulation. Knowing that the driver you're hiring has the skills that he says he has without taking him out with your top driver actually on the road. And maybe yes, maybe no. So this is a way of being able to recruit, being able to evaluate, and then being able to save the drivers that may be having some difficulty. But you don't want to lose a driver, you want to save a driver.
Yeah, I think that's great. And so you're actually not only training new people, but helping to coach the ones you already have, whether it be something simple or something that they're doing over a bad habit, maybe working out, right? We all, believe it or not, having done it for a long time, you develop bad habits behind the wheel. And maybe these are some things that you bring in and you use as a coaching method, right? In part of this curriculum.
Absolutely. I also like to say that it's like having another instructor on your team, because it does capture the information about the driver's performance. And in addition, it helps to show them through augmented reality some of the things that they may have forgotten. Like you mentioned, Rick mentioned earlier, his daughter around the big tanker.
Right.
Well, okay, there's a space manager. I immediately said, well, there was a space management problem there.
Right.
And, these are the things that you have aha moments when you're driving the simulator, and you can see in front of you exactly, what is going to happen.
What do you see? And I'll tell you, it's developed over the last 15 years. Simulation has come a long way. What do you see as the future of simulation? I know you've been doing this business a long time. You have a really good insight of where it's come from to where it is today. What do you see of it in the future? How do you see this playing out?
Well, I've been around long enough to see exactly what you're describing, where the very early systems, which I'm on the Transportation Research Board, the National Transportation Research Board. And so they've been studying the use of simulation in all methods of transportation. I happen to be on the Truck and Bus Safety Committee right now.
Nice.
And one of the things that I see over the years is that the sophistication has just gotten so much better. With computers being faster, we had what we had years ago,
right,
simply because we were held back by technology. Right. Well, now technology is becoming far less expensive,
right.
Up until this year, I guess. But with inflation,
let's not bring the chip shortage in.
Well, computers have doubled in price within the last year, by the way.
Wow.
They just doubled in price. So it is becoming a little bit more expensive. But what I see is more acceptance of this technology. The business had exploded over the last year or two, and people are becoming more familiar with its integration into it's not so outlandish. This is not just for the airline industry. This is for the trucking industry. This is for the police industry. This is for, all types of driving.
And who is becoming more acceptable? Just everyone across the board, businesses, individuals. I mean, truly, you're talking about a bigger acceptance of this technology. Are businesses coming to the table a lot sooner and wanting to talk to you as like never before?
Oh gosh, yes, it's amazing. The word is out, so to speak. Right. They see the successes of their competitors, right, and they want an edge. You talked about the fuel cost. We had a fuel efficiency program on the simulator that shows drivers how to control, because I always say that the driver has the fuel pump right at his foot. And
he does.
that is where you have to train what it is, what makes that fuel efficiency happen and how. It's science. It's not some magic thing that happens that all of a sudden your truck is going to be efficient. Yes, it has to be up to snuff on everything, but the biggest controlling factor is how the driver drives the truck and that efficiency.
We're not only talking about going back and looking at the way, we're talking about being proactive in the future. I mean, we're talking about proactive safety, proactive efficiency. We're talking about using the simulator to create a much better business model for every driver that you have, right? I mean, if you get right down to it.
Absolutely. And you asked the question about, why, who is attracted to this? Yes, the businesses are attracted to this because they see that the investment in this system can check a lot of boxes, from recruiting to training to safety to fuel efficiency. The other thing is, if you're trying to get a younger workforce, that younger workforce is familiar with technology. Absolutely. And I actually had a student call me and wanting to know if I could tell him where a training school was that used simulation, because they felt that they were more advanced. They would get more advanced training.
Wow.
That was the most unusual call I think I ever got from a student.
And I think that was a very intuitive call. And I think you're going to see more of those type of ideas, because I will tell you, the younger generation is wholeheartedly comfortable with all types of technology. In fact, I had heard, and I'll just share this with you, I'd heard from an individual that said they came to them and said, "Hey, when are the cars going to help me not ever make bad decisions? You know what? And then I don't have to worry about making a bad decision, right?" And I'll tell you, your technology 100 helps to make better decisions out there on the road that we have. Good stuff.
Yeah, until we have fully autonomous vehicles on the road,
Right.
we are still at the mercy of the person behind the wheel.
Of course.
And I am a fan of autonomous vehicles, and I am a fan of those advanced, systems that are in cars and trucks. And as a matter of fact, Virage also has programs that train advanced systems.
Wow.
So a driver can become familiar because there's an intimidation factor there. So they can become familiar with it without fear of having an issue out on the road. And again, it's giving those best practices to them so that when they're out there, they can continue to make those good decisions.
Well, Deborah, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, you give us so much information based upon this. This is exciting and new stuff. I hope that we can have you again on to talk about other things and other technological advancements if you allow us to come back. Would you do that? Would you be a guest again someday?
Oh, I would just love it because we just, touched the tip of the iceberg.
I'm sure we did, and it is so much fun to talk to you. I'll tell you what, before you go, will you do me a small favor? Will you state your name and who you work for, and that you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation?
Oh, I will. Well, this is Deborah Quackenbush with Virage Simulation on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
All right. Thank you very much, Deborah. We do appreciate it. And we thank you for coming on, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.